Okay, I want to give some context here on this video. I'm going to talk fast. The video's played fast. I want it to be as quick as possible. Everyone has a short attention span, especially myself, but there's a lot of information I'm going to cover here. I just try and point out some irony. Joe Rogan has some interviews I think they're incredible. I think he does have some thought-provoking content. This one is probably one of the worst ones I've ever seen. He makes a claim, states something that I do agree with about false information about fact checkers, and then he goes on to do the exact same thing that he just condemned. So we'll start from now.
Oh, it's fake. It's like, don't look at it, like with your eyes.
Yeah, fact checkers are fucking dangerous, and it's really, I mean, what you're seeing is kind of treason.
Yeah,
It's kind of what it is. If you're seeing that kind of fact checking, you're lying. You're lying, and you're intentionally misrepresenting facts, and you're doing so because you want a specific result politically.
Right.
And it should be illegal.
I agree.
Especially if people think of you as a fact checker. And what does that mean? What does it mean to be a fact checker? The problem with facts is very subjective. You can find one small inconsistency or one. You could phrase a question in a certain way and have your answer false in a different way because you're just finding some nitpicky way to look at things. I've seen a lot of that to the point where you're like, that's not fact checked at all. You guys just you're gaslighting. It's just pure gaslighting.
This is what it says. Pick the new flag.
State emblems first adopted in 1957. The flag showed that it was harmful to their communities and promoted the erasure of their people from the land.
What?
Well, can I see what it looks like? Show me the original, just get a photo of the original Minnesota flag. Okay. It's back. Is that problematic because Native Americans didn't really ride horses and people didn't really till the land? Like, I don't understand what...
There's a big controversy about that, actually.
Yeah?
Whether or not how long horses have been in North America.
Well, horses originated in North America.
What?
Yeah, horses originated.
So this is where it kind of also, so he is yes and no. He's false and correct. There were very early evidence of horses and zebras in the Americas. To say they all originated here is absolutely false.
In North America, including zebras. All of them originated in North America. Then they were wiped out, and they had been introduced into Asia and Africa and all these other continents, and then reintroduced back to America.
Right.
Reintroduced is absolutely false. Absolutely false.
I meant, like...
When people rode them?
Correct.
I want to harp on that again. Reintroduce is also very incorrect because it implies that there's some sort of human element to it. We know for a fact, I'm going to show this as well, horses and zebras, their early ancestors, migrated over land bridges, probably the most likely ones that be the Bering Strait. They migrated from the Americas over to Asia, Africa, and they bred with other early type of horses and zebras to create the modern ones that we have today. So to say they were reintroduced is false.
Right.
So, because a lot of people are saying that First Nations peoples had horses for a lot longer than Europeans had been in America.
Certainly possible. There's certainly different segments.
So he says they had them. That's implying the domestication, not that they were living alongside them. Because we know for a fact, they definitely did live alongside them. There is no question there. All right, so let's just get into it. Most importantly was it's not going to be shown here, was the Hagerman horse. It's going to be the one that lives closest to, but 10,000 years ago. Maybe it was about 10,000 years ago, about 2 million years ago. So 10,000 years gap from when it was. So let's say they did exist 10,000 years ago. We can even say 8,000 years ago. That means that for 8,000 years to now, there has not been culture of or domestication utilizing of horses. The earliest we have, again, I want to preface right here real quick. A lot of our understanding of what we define as civilizations, of cities, of whatever, is going to be a European-centric model, and that is going to be kind of a false misnomer to put on them because it wasn't, again, to say that it evolved in a linear direction is not correct. They evolved in different ways. All are equally correct and unique in their own way. Early Native Americans were very, 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 very diverse, especially in the way they had languages, writings. Writings also isn't totally correct because they didn't really have writing systems. The Incans, very early Incans, had like knot tying, a way of communicating, but have long record keeping is not correct. So when these horses went extinct 10,000 years ago, there was no way to pass on that ritual tradition. Speaking of tradition or rituals, that was about 12,000 to about 7,000 years ago. Right? We know that they were here about 122, maybe we'd be generous and say 125,000 years ago. Right? The land bridge that we're talking about, that's how they migrated, both the humans and the early zebras and horses. There's also evidence that Native Americans were introduced, or they could have been introduced to horses via the Viking. Again, I hate the word Viking. That's another misnomer. The Scandinavians, probably Eric the Red, about 6,000 years ago. Okay, so that's another 6,000 year gap. Their traditions were based on oral teachings, conversations. You write as old cave drawings you see here. There wasn't an ability to teach or domesticate for long periods of time. So when Joe's saying that, oh, they've been here, they were reintroduced, they were killed off, it's not fact checked. And that's the irony I want to point out, because what he's saying is, oh, well, this flag is not the Minnesota, Michigan, whatever the fucking flag is not offensive because they were here first. Okay, so by that same train of logic, me, a very white man, tracing my lineage back to like Ireland and Scandinavia, I'm also black because all Americans or all humans are from Africa. So as far back, right? So this is a misnomer. So he is guilty of his own advice, his own damnation when he says
different North American tribes that were much better, including right here where we are, the Comanche. The Comanche were notoriously good at raising horses, and it was part of how fierce they were. They had so many horses.
And we know for a fact they did. They did very well around, 1680. Right, very good around 1680. Prior to that, they just were part of their lives. And that's just a fact. It's not a judgment. It's just they went the most recent one, naturally, was the Hagerman horse, and that went extinct. But like I said, 10,000 years ago. So what he's saying is just, it's not true. It's what he would say is...
happen. Rise.
In a certain way and have your answer false in a different way because you're just finding some nitpicky way to look at things. I've seen a lot of that. To the point where like, that's not
Me too.
fact checked at all.
Exactly.
It's just fucking, you're gaslighting. It's just pure